What's up, everybody? Nate here from Out of the Basement, bringing you a brand new action figure review. Today from Star Wars The Black Series, we are looking at the Deluxe Jedi Master KELNACCA from the Acolyte. This is a figure that I've been very curious about ever since they announced it. It is, of course, the first Wookiee Jedi that we are getting in the Black Series, so that's always exciting. We love Jedi. We love getting different kinds of Jedi. So I've had my eye on this figure. Even though I didn't necessarily care for the show, I just had to see how a Wookiee Jedi action figure would work out. So here we are. I got this in from Big Bad Toy Store. This is in the new deluxe packaging, so there's no more slant. You can see he is the 9th figure in the Acolyte subline. Here is the mural art on the side, looking pretty good. We have another shot of it on the back, and interestingly, it looks like the artist didn't actually do the whole shaved head look. Here's KELNACCA's bio if you want to pause it and read it. Some more repeated information these days. Like I said, the 9th figure in the Acolyte, and then all this stuff. And we have the barcode on the bottom. So let's go ahead. We're going to get this guy open. We'll take a look at his one and only accessory, and then the figure itself. Alright, here we are with the lightsaber accessory, and the hilt does look really nice. It's molded in a gold plastic and just has little bits of brown paint. Looks pretty accurate from my memory of what we see in the show. Like, they included this little slit here, which I think that effect works pretty well. I like that you can see the lightsaber going through. It's exactly how it is in the show. Of course, we got a little peg here for some lightsaber storage. The blade is removable, and it's in there pretty good. Here we go. So yeah, you can see here it is removable, and the saber just pegs right in on KELNACCA's belt. This does unfortunately lead me to my first gripe with KELNACCA, and that is, unfortunately, they definitely Balin scolded him, and they gave him this really obnoxiously long lightsaber. KELNACCA's lightsaber, the blade is not this long. He has a regular, normal-sized lightsaber. I'm not sure why they keep getting this wrong with certain figures, because even Balin doesn't have a huge lightsaber, but for some reason they've been giving them all like these big Malgus blades, and it's not really accurate, and unfortunately it does ruin some posing. Like if you wanted to have Jecki hold this lightsaber, I'll show you later in the video, but she looks absurd with it. So it's not the biggest issue in the world, but it is definitely worth noting because it is inaccurate. Alright, and here is Jedi Master KELNACCA out of the packaging, and you can see he does look pretty fantastic. We do have some really nice detailing going on here. This is also mostly a brand new sculpt, which of course always matters in the Black Series. It's unfortunate that it does, but something like this does play a part in why this figure is considered deluxe. Obviously, it's definitely not a deluxe figure. It falls into the category of deluxe because big, and that's pretty much it. I can't even say they won't reuse pieces of this because there is some reuse here. The feet are definitely from Black Chrysanthemum, and I can definitely see them using other pieces of this for that upcoming Chewie that we know is coming out down the road. So yeah, this one's definitely, unfortunately, in the category of deluxe cause big, deluxe cause mostly new sculpt, and you know, they just feel like making whatever figures they want deluxe these days. Who knows? The rules always change. Anyways, back to the figure. You can see that the lightsaber, look at how big it is. I have to keep going up. I can't even back the camera up enough to show it all to you within the confines of my background. Here you go. I have to come all the way back here. You can definitely tell it's far too big. But now we'll grab him off the stand and we'll take a closer look at his details. Alright, and here we are up close and personal with KELNACCA, and you can see he's definitely a sweaty boy right off the bat. I also do have some minor gripes with the head sculpt in general. I feel it's mostly accurate, but there is just something slightly off about it, and it's kind of not making this figure look like KELNACCA, which is kind of strange because it's an alien, and usually they do a wonderful job at translating alien likeness to the Black Series, but I really think what it is for me is these eyebrows here. You see KELNACCA in a lot of different like reference imagery that I'll show on screen here. And you'll see that his eyebrows are kind of big, kind of bushy. They kind of cover up his eyes a little bit. And on the figure, it's just a totally smooth sculpt. So I think that's kind of throwing it off for me. And also, I feel like the face, the fur tone, is just too dark. KELNACCA has multiple fur colors throughout, and they do translate that onto the figure, and I'll show you that in greater detail. But his head is definitely one of those things where the fur color is actually really light, especially around his face. And I really wish they would have taken the time to get that detail right, especially since this is a deluxe figure. However, the printing on the face is really clean, and I do really enjoy all the different paint app bead details that are in his beard, so to speak. And we also get, like I said, a gradient of color. You know, it kind of goes from a dark brown to an even darker grayish black color down around the backside, and it translates pretty well. I like how it turned out. There's even more of those really nice braid details. And he does have these tattoos on the side of his head. That's actually a detail I didn't even know when I was watching the show. It's only something I noticed on the figure itself, but they are there in the show. So they put the tattoos on the sides of his head. You can also see the top knot detail there. Really nicely done. So there is a good bit of paint on the figure. Little hits here and there, and we all know that adds up quick, especially in the Black series. So we do also get his robe, which is always great. We love when a Jedi includes his robe. The hood is sewn down, so you cannot get it to go over his head unless, of course, you undo the sewing, which then would ruin how it lays. And I'm fine with that. I don't think we ever see him with his hood up, so it's totally okay that they did it this way. I think it helps with how it lays on the actual figure, and it doesn't really inhibit any of the articulation either. You still get really nice range of movement, and of course, you know, the only thing it does inhibit is rotating the arms 360 all the way around. So not too bad there. I will probably keep his robe on him, but we'll definitely take it off a little bit later in the review. The bright yellow, beige High Republic robes here are translated pretty well to the figure. The camera is definitely making them look a lot more yellow than they are in real life. This is definitely a little bit more pale to the naked eye, but focusing in on the belt, they did some really nice paint hits here. Lots of little small details, bits of silver and gold. Got the little communicator device there, I believe. And of course, we have a missing paint app here. We couldn't get one more little dot of paint on the pouch. They did paint these 3 dots on the back of the figure, which that's pretty sweet, but yeah, they stopped at that one button. That's like the last little bit of paint they could have just slapped on there for us, but yeah, we didn't get that last little button there, which I'll always say it for a deluxe figure, especially a figure that's just deluxe because big, you know, just give us all the paint apps you can, please. Is it really that much more expensive to give us one little more dot on a deluxe figure? I really don't think so. And then we've got his nice chunky thick legs. That is one thing that is nice about this KELNACCA figure, is he does have a decent weight to him, so he kind of has a little bit more of a premium feel, so to speak, just based on, you know, the thickness of the plastic here. These are new legs. They are not chrysanthemum legs. You can see BK's legs are a little bit more shapely, and the fur sculpt is definitely different. Like I said, though, the feet are definitely reused. You can tell they're the same exact sculpt, which is fine. They didn't reuse any other parts from BK, including the arms here, which we'll take the robe off and get a closer look at those. And again, you can see side by side, the arms are 100% different, totally different sculpt. BK has a lot more fur around his elbow compared to KELNACCA. So that is nice to see that at least they did go out of their way to sculpt mostly new parts for KELNACCA. But like I said, I could see them reusing parts of this for Chewbacca. They'll probably end up doing, you know, a combination of these two figures to give us that new Chewbacca, which is fine. I'm okay with that. These arms are pretty nice. The single jointed elbow is super deep cut. I mean, it's got a huge joint right there for a lightsaber wielding character. That kind of movement is definitely important. And like I was saying, throughout the figure, you can see they did a pretty good job of doing a kind of gradient you know, dark to light down on the arms, and then same thing following through on the feet. I just think that the fur tone should have just been a little bit lighter to match how we see KELNACCA in the show. But now, the most important question with a Wookiee Jedi is absolutely the articulation. And I'm happy to say that KELNACCA is pretty decent. So let's go ahead, we'll jump into that right now. Of course, the downfall of any Wookiee action figure is going to be the head articulation. He can only look up just a little bit and can't really look down at all. We do get some side to side. And thankfully, the hair sculpt is soft enough, along with the rubber overlay, that you actually can get him to move his head side to side pretty well, which helps out a lot. This is probably the best side to side head movement we've gotten out of any Wookiee figure. So having that softer sculpt there, and along with the rubber overlay, definitely helped out in that regard. So I don't think it's a total wash on the head sculpt there, but of course it's going to be restricted just because of the hair. Obviously, these shoulders can move out all the way. They do rotate around 360, and we have some really nice butterfly joints here. We get plenty of range for KELNACCA here. Again, it's thanks to the rubber overlay and also them actually doing a butterfly joint on this figure, and it's not just like a weird spacer like BK. The single jointed elbow here is fantastic. We get way over 90 degrees, and he does have swivel there, so that's going to be fantastic if they reuse this arm for Chewbacca. We might actually be able to get him to hold his bowcaster, which would be awesome. And yeah, just even take a look at the butterfly joints. Can go in about that far. Yeah, they did a really nice job with the butterflies on KELNACCA. We do have ball jointed wrists, which is always cool to see. They can rotate around, and they can go up and down just a little bit, side to side just a little bit. They don't really stay in place, so they are a little restricted, but you do get that total 360 style movement there. As far as a crunch forward goes, we just get a little bit like most Black Series, and then going backwards we get a little bit just like most Black Series. Pretty restricted there, unfortunately, but we do still have rotation and side to side. As far as the legs are concerned, he can kick all the way out. The skirt piece here is a nice soft plastic, and it does have cuts in it, so you can easily maneuver it and get it out of the way. KELNACCA does not have thigh swivel, unfortunately, and that hip movement is almost non-existent. This is not good, and we really just need to bring that thigh swivel back. I mean, it helps so much with more natural posing, especially with any lightsaber wielding character, and having this movement restricted right here definitely kills some natural looking posability. Obviously, you can still get some rotation out of the knee, which it is single jointed, and you do just get a little over 90 with it, and it does swivel here, but that does not replace thigh swivel, because when you pose the leg out now, you're going to have the thigh always facing forward, so that fur is just going to look a little off. It's not going to match up with the sculpt, whereas if you had thigh swivel, you'd be able to rotate this as well and have a much more natural looking pose. KELNACCA can do the splits pretty well, and he can kick back pretty far at least. And then finally down to the feet, they move down just a little bit. They can go up just a little bit, and he does have ankle pivot, but it is pretty restricted by the sculpt, which is not surprising. Most Wookiee figures that we've experienced in the Black Series are pretty limited in terms of their articulation, but you can still get some really nice posing out of KELNACCA. He can grip his lightsaber very easily with both hands, and even some more dynamic style posing here is pretty easily done, which is great because this is what I was really looking for out of a Wookiee Jedi figure. I would love to see them do a Gungi in the future. I think it would be really cool to see him in the Black Series, and thankfully KELNACCA proves to me that they can do a pretty good job with balancing sculpt and articulation for a Wookiee character like this. So now we'll move on to one of the most important things when it comes to any deluxe figure or any Wookiee. It's the size comparisons. So we will start things out with the archive release of Chewbacca, which is way too big. That old Chewbacca figure is definitely oversized. He should be more around KELNACCA's height. I do like the nice spread that we have here. KELNACCA definitely right in the middle in terms of height. You know, BK's a little short and stocky, Chewbacca's tall and lanky, and then right in the middle, KELNACCA is just kind of a more average looking build. And I wouldn't mind if they reused some of these parts for Chewbacca, because I think Chewie's a little too skinny and lanky. I think he could definitely use a little bit more bulk for an upcoming figure, so hopefully we see that. Unfortunately, I only have one other Acolyte figure, and that is JEDI, so at least we could do a little height comparison between those two. And then, you know, I just threw Malgus in there because Old Republic, High Republic, you know, kind of near the same timeline, not really, but another big deluxe character, so always good to just give you more frame of reference for his size. And like I said, this is definitely how you know KELNACCA's lightsaber is way too big. We see in the Acolyte when JEDI is facing off against Kymer, she uses Master KELNACCA's lightsaber, and it's a normal sized saber, but obviously here you can see it's comically large. So unfortunately, if for some reason you got KELNACCA with the hopes to pose JEDI dual wielding with his saber, looks like we might have to turn to cubic 3D prints to give us a correct size saber here. So hopefully they provide us with that sometime in the near future here. So overall, while I do have my gripes about this figure, its general inaccuracy to KELNACCA is definitely a little annoying. However, I do still think this figure is just a really cool, unique piece to have on the shelf. I have had JEDI thrown in with the rest of my Jedi, and I'm just going to do the same with KELNACCA, even though the robes are a little different. You know, I can just have them be their own little sect of Jedi that wear mustard-colored robes for some reason. But yeah, they did a pretty nice job articulating a Wookiee Jedi. Ultimately, it will be hard for me to fully recommend this figure. It is definitely overpriced as a deluxe release. We don't really get anything to constitute this as a full deluxe release. But I would imagine if you're a fan of the Acolyte, if you liked that show, definitely pick this one up. Even though, unfortunately, this version of KELNACCA doesn't go with any of the other Acolyte figures that we have, because we only see him in his robes in the flashbacks. So yeah, I don't know if they were planning on doing more Acolyte figures to go with KELNACCA in this look, but that is mildly unfortunate there. So yeah, it's a mixed bag here. It's really a mixed bag. If you like KELNACCA, pick him up. If you don't, pass on him. And that's my review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. We're always talking about Star Wars The Black Series here on the channel. I'm Nate from Out of the Basement. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.